let's talk about Amanda Murphy's Ultimate Guide to Rulerwork Quilting. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Rulerwork Quilting by Amanda Murphy. And so this is a chapter where she's discussing rulers. Hi there, welcome to a new video on the Sugardoo channel. My name is Irene and today we're going to be talking about a book. I'm going to do a little book review about this book. It is called The Ultimate Guide to Rulerwork Quilting by Amanda Murphy, and I love it. It is such a great book about quilting with rulers. Everything you want to learn is in here. And the reason why I was reading this book is because we're going to do a new Sugardoo Bernina quilt along, and that quilt along is going to focus on quilting, and we will be quilting free motion quilting and rulerwork quilting. We're going to start with that quilt along mid-January, so on January the 14th we're going to start, and it's going to be an awesome quilt along. So if you're new here and wondering what I'm talking about, well, together with Bernina I am hosting a free quilt along. So all the patterns, all the videos for the quilt along will be for free on the Bernina blog and on my YouTube channel. And I have provided some quilt along kits, so fabric kits if you want to quilt along and make what I will be making in the videos. You can hop over to sugardoo.com/123 to get yourself a fabric kit. On that website you can find more information about the kits, but also sign up to get all the notifications about the quilt along, and you will then get all the patterns and the videos in your inbox from mid-January. So if you're interested about learning more about quilting, about free motion quilting, ruler work, starting at the very basics and learning to quilt with me, then really do check it out and sign up. So back to the book. This book is really a great basic book if you want to start with doing ruler work. So if you want to try to quilt with rulers and you have no clue where to start, this book covers it all. So let's take a little peek on what the book covers and what you need. So it starts with talking about the tools. So the tools, your sewing machine that you need, ruler foot, so the materials that you need to be quilting. And then of course also it covers rulers. And the fun thing about this book is that all throughout the book tips and tricks are given. So this is a chapter where she's discussing rulers and the circle ruler. But as you can see here, a topic of what to do if your circle ruler starts to slip. So all very useful information is mixed throughout the book. So it's not just this is a circle ruler, this is what you can do with it, but it covers so many practical things that you run into while doing ruler work. So it's really, how do you say that? It just teaches you a lot when you read this book. So that's a chapter that covers all kinds of rulers, and then there's a chapter that covers planning your work with rulers. So you have a specific type of quilt. How do you get from that quilt top design to a design of what you're going to quilt on it? Because when you have rulers, it's still difficult to decide what are you going to make in which area of the quilt. So there's a topic over here, executing or planning a quilt with rulers. So how do you get a plan for what to do where? An awesome tip that I got from the book, of course I'm not going to spill it all over here. I really recommend for you to read the book yourself. But one thing that I really learned from this book over here is that the order of the quilting really matters. So that you can start with intricate design quilting your quilt, or you can start with quilting out the borders and stitching in the ditch first. And it explains what that does and why the order of the quilting is important. So things in this book that I would just not think about and just see how it goes, and then I would wonder, why are these lines a little bit wonky? Well, then here she says, yeah, it does matter the order of which you quilt in and what you should quilt first. Yeah, so another tip that is just interwoven in the chapters over here. Also a lot of pictures in this book. I think, oh no, wait, I will just finish first all the topics that she covers and then talk a little bit more what I like about the book. So the final piece is executing ruler work on a long arm machine and executing ruler work on a domestic machine. So this book, in this book, Amanda quilts on Bernina sewing machines. So it's especially nice when you own a Bernina, because then you will recognize the foot of the machine and the machines themselves on all the pictures. So here you see one of the Q series machines. So she quilts on Bernina sewing machines, normal domestic sewing machines, and she quilts on the Q series, so the sit down sewing machines and the long arm machines. Yeah, so she covers both those areas. So if you have a domestic sewing machine and you want to do ruler work, then this book covers that as well. Also, she brings up those two in every chapter. So when you read about rulers, she will also discuss low shank rulers, high shank rulers, what to get for your machine. So basically, no matter what kind of machine you have, as long as it has a ruler foot on it, then you can get a ton of information from this book. Something that's also really useful is that she has a kind of a cheat sheet at the end of the two final chapters. So quilting on a domestic sewing machine and quilting on a long arm machine. And that is troubleshooting. So while you're doing ruler work and something goes wrong or doesn't work as you want it to, then you can read here. For example, my thread tension is off, or I'm having difficulty moving my fabric. Then you go into the section for your sewing machine and just read all her tips and tricks, especially for that topic that you're struggling with. So it kind of feels like you can ask Amanda everything while reading this book. So you want to learn to do ruler work, and you just start, read the basics of the book, and then you start, and then you run into something, and then you just check the book again to see what is going on. So yeah, I think it's kind of clear that I really like the book and that I highly recommend it. Let's see, what else do people talk about during book reviews? It's a nice thick book. It's about, what is it? 130 pages. And there's a lot of images in there as well. So a lot of visual instructions of how to hold your hands, how to mark your quilts while using rulers. So as well as on a normal sewing machine, like over here, as on long arm or sit down sewing machines. Yeah, so lots of information and images. And this is, for example, the chapter of planning your quilting. And then she explains it really by giving visual examples. So showing images of quilts and then talking about how you could quilt it and why. So yeah, I think it's a really useful book. But like with most books and most things that you want to learn, I think it's best to just do it. So this book really covers the basics, and you can start with reading and then just go practice and see what happens, and practice some more when you think it's not working out. Just continue practicing and check this book then for help, for tips and tricks, and for troubleshooting. And yeah, but that practice, I guess, is the most important, and that is also what we are doing in the Sugar Do Bernina Quilt Along. So we're going to practice and to really get that muscle memory. I think that you need to do the quilting on your quilt, because when you sit down for the very first time behind your machine, and you're going to quilt for the first time, it could be a little bit daunting and scary to start quilting. But when you do it more often, you will get the hang of it. And then it's going to start to be fun. Even though it's not perfect yet, it can already get fun. So a book is nice, but practice is even better, I think. So this book is available in my webshop, sugardo.com, and on my website you can also check out the quilt along to learn to do ruler work with me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next one, or within the Sugar Do Bonita quilt along. That would be awesome. Thanks, and see you later. Bye!